Hi, welcome to Kenosha Reads YA. And this month we're talking about Women's History Month by reading books with strong women characters. And my name, forgot what we were doing. My name is Alejandria, and I'm a teen librarian at the Kenosha Public Library.
I'm Susannah, and I am a teen and family engagement librarian at the Kenosha Public Library.
And I am Megan. I'm an early literacy specialist at the Kenosha Public Library.
All right. And this month, we just kind of want to talk about two things going on at the library before we do some book talks about the books that we've selected. And the first is our book club book of the month, which will be happening on, pull up my calendar, the 17th. Yes, March 17th, we'll be meeting to talk about the book, Watch Us Rise. We'll put a cover image right here of Watch Us Rise. You get a free copy of the book by signing up. So make sure you go onto our calendar. The link will be in the description below and sign up so you can get a free book and read along and talk about it with us on March 17th. And the second thing, does somebody want to talk about the reading challenge?
Yeah, so we are doing a spring reading challenge. It's much like our fall reading challenge if you participated in that. But we're hoping that you can read 1,000 minutes between now and May 15th, which really is only about 20 minutes a day for a little over a month's worth of days. So it sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. You just check off the little boxes on the sheet or on Beanstack, our online version, for every 20 minutes you read. And then at the end, you get a free book. So it's really nothing to lose. It's a great thing.
And reading for school counts too. So
it's true. Reading for school, reading manga, reading long news articles online, watching
audiobooks
with subtitles, audiobooks, it all counts. We just want you to be reading and absorbing fabulous stories.
All right. So those are the two things that are going on at Kenosha Public Library that you might be interested in if you are a teen. But we are going to get on to our book talks, and our book talks are spoiler free because we want you to read them and fully read the stories without feeling like anything's been spoiled for you. But we will give you a little bit of a taste so that you know what you might be in for if you read these books. So I'll go ahead and start. I always tend to navigate towards the sci-fi fantasy end of things. And I've chosen a book by L.L. McKinney, and it's called A Blade So Black. And this is a book that had been on my to be read list for a long time. And I just hadn't got around to it. And then I listened to a Dungeons and Dragons podcast that she is a part of, and I just loved her character and the way she played her character. And I thought, if she can come up with this character basically in this game, I can't wait to read what she has written. And this is described by L.L. McKinney as, what if Buffy fell down the rabbit hole? It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Alice in Wonderland. It's kind of an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but I think it's got enough of its own flavor that if you're not really interested in Alice in Wonderland, you won't be particularly not interested in this. And this is about a girl named Alice, and Alice one day meets somebody named Addison Hatta, and also meets something called a nightmare that she is not prepared for. And through just a long, complicated list of things that happen, she ends up being the person, kind of like Buffy, the chosen one, who is supposed to battle the nightmares and keep them in the dream realm called Wonderland, where Hatta is from. But once Hatta is poisoned, things become a little more complicated, and she needs to take on Wonderland kind of a bit more on her own legs. But I think that if you're interested in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you're probably going to like this. If you're interested in Alice in Wonderland and fantasy, you're going to like this. In Other Worlds. And it is part of a series. The series is called, I think, Nightmare Verse.
Yes.
I didn't look that up. I think that's the name of the
Yep.
series. I think so far there are 2, or did the 3rd one come out recently and we just maybe don't have it because we're just a little bit behind?
I believe it's out already or coming out very soon, and I don't remember which.
Okay, I will put all the links to all the books in the series below in the description so that you can find them all. But if you're interested in a good fantasy adventure read, this is a really good one for you. And it was called A Blade So Black by L.L. McKean.
I loved that one too. Co-signed. The book I'm going to talk about today is a little more historical. I went very, very historical for my Women's History Month pick, and that is Blood, Water, Paint by Joy McCullough. I have a cover. And this is a novel in verse, so it's told primarily in poetry, but there are little sort of prose interludes throughout. And this is about Artemisia Gentileschi, who is a very famous painter. She's one of the only most famous female painters of her era. So this is a story about her when she was a teenager in early 17th century Rome. She becomes her father's apprentice after her mother dies. But it turns out she's actually a much better painter than her father is. And so at the start of the book, she is painting commissions that her father is getting, and he's putting his name on them, which is a thing that happened to a lot of female artists at that point in time and much later as well. So there's a lot about art and sexism and a lot of really heavy stuff, but the writing is very, very beautiful. The verse is really exceptionally written. It's a quick read because it is verse. I do want to give a heads up that this is a book that deals a lot with issues of sexual assault. So if that's something that is not comfortable for you to read about, I would not recommend picking this one up. But it is a really amazing read. And she is a phenomenal historical figure. So I finished this one and then went down an internet rabbit hole reading about her and her life and her work. It's a really cool story in general. And interwoven in the into the novel in verse, the prose interludes are all about stories her mother told her when she was a child, based on female biblical figures who are frequently painted. So particularly Judith, who is the subject of one of Artemisia's most famous paintings, Judith beheading Holofernes. So there's a lot of really cool layers of history in there.
I hadn't heard about that one. That one, I wrote it down because it sounds really good.
I loved it.
Okay, so I read Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson. And fun fact, Renee Watson is a co-author of our March teen book selection. So really good. I really enjoyed this book. It was about a very strong female main character, Nala. She grew up in a really tight-knit family, and she actually lives with her aunt and uncle and her cousin, and her cousin are about the same age, and they are starting to kind of have some differences, kind of some growing pains. Like her cousin is very involved in a local community activist group that's run by teens, and they focus especially on environmentalism, which I found very interesting. And Nala kind of comes to the meetings with her cousin, but she's not super into it. And Nala is a little bit bitter because her cousin is pulling more away from the family and spending more time with this group of people. And Nala sort of feels like she's kind of abandoning the family a little bit and choosing them over her. So it does kind of deal with some of the tension between the two girls. And it also is a really great example of different ways that you can make a difference in your community, whether it's through an organized group like a community activist group, or whether it's just spending time with your grandma and her friends. And it shows that it takes all kinds to to make the world a better place. And it's a great, pretty quick read for people who like realistic fiction. There's a little bit of romance in it, but it's not the main storyline. The main storyline is much more about the family interactions and the different types of activism and environmentalism. So.
Awesome. Got 3 very different books there. So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that Susannah and I chose books that have been out for a while. And Megan, your book is new. So your book we might not actually have on our shelves quite yet because our ordering is a little bit behind, but it is on the way. We'll get here. But yeah, I don't know. I'm putting that one on my list as well because I'm very interested in environmentalism, and that all sounds like just really interesting story.
You would love it. The whole time I was reading it, I was like, oh, Alejandria would really, really love this one. So.
All right. Well, it's been great to share some books with you. Oh, but maybe Susannah.
One more thing. I just want to highlight the fact that if none of these sound like something you want to read, but you still want to read something for Women's History Month, we have displays at every branch, and we also have a book list on our website on a blog post about Women's History Month, where you can find more recommendations for YA reads.
Yes, which will be in the description. Anything we talk about, we'll try and put it in the description. But yeah, so those are some just 3 books that we think you might like, but there are so many other books on our shelves, so come in and grab a couple. But it's been great to spend a little bit of time talking about some books with everybody, and we'll see you next month for another round of books.
Bye.